What's going on? YouTube, listen up, young elder gang. This is Joe Blow at you with another banger. Please make sure you like, subscribe, and share this video, fam. I hope this video get at least 100,000 likes. In this video, you will find history definitions, scripture information, and best of all, what we Americans have been deprived of from the beginning, the truth. Keep in mind this content used in this video is intended for entertainment, educational, and informational purposes. Only we'll give you the total truth as we best understand it today. Be sure to hit that like button. Young Elder Gang, hit that subscribe button. If you're new to the channel, hit that bell and don't forget to check back with us every day for new content. The Korean War, often called the Forgotten War. We're taught it was a simple Cold War clash. Communist North, capitalist South, superpowers pulling the strings. But what if it wasn't that simple? What if the real power was hidden? History is rarely neat. Motives are often buried, and the real drivers of conflict aren't always who you think. Wars aren't just about soldiers and ideologies, they're about money, influence, and who benefits. So, let's pull at those hidden threads. What if the Korean War was shaped not by ideology, but by profit, faith, or regional ambition? Tonight we'll explore three alternate puppet masters: international bankers, the Pope, and China. Each would have changed the war's course, and its legacy. The official story says nations fight for freedom or security, but motivations can be far more complex. By imagining different hands at the wheel, we see how the same war could have played out in radically different ways. The goals of those in charge dictate everything: who fights, who dies, and who profits. So buckle up. We're diving into the possible puppet masters of the Korean War. For bankers, it's profit. For the Pope, peace. For China, dominance. These aren't minor differences. They're fundamentally different reasons for war. Change the driver, and you change the destination. The war's brutality, length, and legacy would all be transformed. Before World War II, Korea was a unified nation with a distinct culture and history. For 35 years, from 1910 to 1945, Korea endured harsh Japanese rule, but the dream of independence never faded. The end of World War II brought liberation, but not unity. The Allies, mainly the United States and the Soviet Union, divided Korea at the 38th parallel to manage Japan's surrender. This division, intended as temporary, quickly became permanent as Cold War tensions grew. The Soviets controlled the North, the Americans the South, each imposing their own political systems. The Korean people had little say. Families and communities were split overnight. Hopes for a unified, independent Korea faded as the peninsula became a pawn in a global power struggle. The 38th parallel became a symbol of ideological conflict, setting the stage for a devastating war. Instead of freedom, Koreans faced new foreign influences and mounting mistrust. The division would soon erupt into open conflict, leaving scars that endure to this day. The fate of Korea was now in the hands of distant superpowers. In the north, Kim Il-sung, backed by the Soviets, established a communist regime, redistributing land and nationalizing industry. His goal, reunify Korea under communism. In the south, Syngman Rhee, supported by the US, set up an anti-communist government but ruled with an iron fist. Both leaders claimed legitimacy over all Korea, refusing compromise. The peninsula became a flashpoint of the Cold War, with each side armed and funded by their respective superpower. Tensions escalated with frequent border clashes and deadly skirmishes along the 38th parallel. The dream of peaceful reunification vanished, replaced by mutual hostility. Each side prepared for war, convinced only force could achieve their vision. The world watched as Korea teetered on the brink. The question was no longer if war would come, but when. On June 25, 1950, North Korea launched a surprise invasion across the 38th parallel. Soviet-supplied tanks and troops overwhelmed the unprepared South Korean army. Seoul fell within days. The South was in full retreat. Kim Il-sung's attack was carefully planned, with Stalin's approval and Chinese support in reserve. Stalin, emboldened by the Soviet atomic bomb and communist victory in China, believed the US would not intervene. China, led by Mao Zedong, promised support if needed, sending experienced fighters to bolster the North. The North's rapid advance shocked the world, threatening to unite Korea under communism. The South Korean government and its allies faced disaster. The first major conflict of the Cold War had begun. The fate of Korea, and the credibility of the West hung in the balance. Would the world respond or let Korea fall? The invasion jolted the United States and its allies. President Truman saw it as communist aggression that had to be stopped. The U.S. rushed the crisis to the United Nations, which, with the Soviets absent, authorized military intervention. An international coalition led by the U.S. mobilized under the UN flag. Early American troops, unprepared and outnumbered, slowed the North's advance at great cost. UN and South Korean forces made a desperate stand at the Pusan perimeter. In September, General MacArthur launched a daring amphibious landing at Incheon, turning the tide. Seoul was recaptured, North Korean forces were cut off and routed. UN troops pushed north, aiming to reunify Korea under a non-communist government. But as they neared the Chinese border, a new threat loomed. China warned against further advance. The war was about to escalate again. As UN forces neared the Yalu River, China intervened, sending hundreds of thousands of troops into Korea. The war became a brutal stalemate, with heavy casualties and shifting front lines. Cities were destroyed, millions displaced, and hopes for victory faded. After 2 years of bloody fighting, armistice talks began. On July 27, 1953, a ceasefire was signed, not a peace treaty. The Demilitarized Zone, or DMZ, was established near the 38th parallel, dividing Korea much as before. The war left Korea devastated and divided, with no clear winner. Over 36,000 Americans and millions of Koreans died. The Korean War became the forgotten war, but its impact was profound. It cemented the division of Korea and set the tone for Cold War conflicts to come. The legacy of the war, and the hope for reunification, remains unresolved to this day. Let's start with the classic scapegoat: bankers. Imagine the Korean War as a business venture, not a battle for ideology. The goal? Endless profit. You finance both sides, loans to Seoul, covert credit to Pyongyang. A drawn-out war means constant demand for steel, oil, rubber, resources you control. You manipulate supply, drive up prices, and sell to both sides. The human cost? Just numbers on a balance sheet. War wrecks economies, so you buy assets cheap, short currencies, and profit from chaos. When the war ends, you cash in again, rebuilding with high-interest loans, locking Korea into your economic orbit. A decisive victory is bad for business. A stalemate is perfect. Two Koreas mean perpetual tension, endless arms sales, and constant need for loans. The DMZ isn't just a border, it's a money machine. The real winners aren't on the battlefield, but in boardrooms from London to New York. The war's true legacy? A divided peninsula fueling a global industry of conflict and profit. In this scenario, war is just another investment, cold, calculated, and lucrative. The banker's war never really ends. It just keeps paying dividends. Now imagine the Pope as the war's hidden hand. Pope Pius XIV's goal? End the bloodshed, fast. The Vatican wields moral authority, not armies. The Pope would see the war as a human tragedy, not a political contest. His strategy: relentless diplomacy, urging Catholic nations to push for peace at the UN. He'd frame the conflict as a moral crisis, calling for global prayers and condemning violence on all sides. The Vatican would launch massive humanitarian aid, food, medicine, shelter, across both Koreas. By helping everyone, the Pope would challenge the logic of war, spotlighting shared humanity. Papal envoys would work behind the scenes, pressing for a ceasefire and negotiation. The war might still start, but the Pope's pressure could force an earlier, less destructive end. The legacy? Not a forgotten war, but the Pope's peace, a testament to moral power over military might. Instead of profit or power, the goal is saving lives and affirming dignity. The Vatican's war is short, humane, and defined by compassion. In this version, the world remembers the Korean War for peace, not pain. The Pope's influence changes everything. Now, what if China was the true mastermind from day one? Mao Zedong isn't reacting, he's orchestrating. The war becomes China's bid for regional dominance, not just border security. North Korea's army is a Chinese extension. All major decisions come from Beijing. Kim Il-sung is a commander, not a leader. Mao's vision rules. Chinese advisors embed in every unit, ensuring total control. The strategy: lure Americans deep, then overwhelm with sheer numbers and guerrilla tactics. Soviet tanks take a back seat. Chinese manpower and willpower drive the fight. The war is a meat grinder by design, bleeding the U.S. to secure China's future. Every American casualty weakens Western influence in Asia. The cost in lives is high, but Mao sees it as the price for long-term security. The message to the world: China, not the USSR, is Asia's true power. The US responds with more troops in Japan, Taiwan, Southeast Asia. The Sino-Soviet split accelerates as Moscow grows wary of Mao's ambition. The Korean War becomes China's coming-out party, a brutal, calculated display of force. The world's balance of power shifts. One war, three realities, each shaped by who holds the reins. With bankers in charge, the war is endless business profit, division, and perpetual tension. The legacy is a militarized peninsula, a cash cow for global finance. If the Pope leads, the war is a moral crisis to be ended. Diplomacy, aid, and compassion define the fight. The legacy is peace, not profit. Lives saved, not lost. Under China's control, the war is a ruthless chess match for dominance. The goal: bleed the West, secure the future, and announce China's rise. The legacy is a supercharged Cold War and a new global order. In reality, the Korean War was a messy mix: profit seekers, peacemakers, and power players all at work. By isolating these motives, we see how the why shapes the how. Who benefits determines who fights, how they fight, and what's left behind. To understand history, always ask who really stood to gain. The answer changes everything. The Korean War's true story is more complex and more revealing than any textbook, and that's why it matters.